Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CFL Weekly Show. It's myself, Shane, alongside Blake. Cole will be joining us later. And unfortunately, Coach Phil is not here as he has a late practice that he has to deal with ahead of his weekend's games. But before we jump into everything CFL related, we'll jump right into some U Sports and CJFL news as we wait for Cole to join us to talk about in the CFL. We'll start off with some U Sports action. Only one game on Friday night with Alberta picking up their first win of the season. The Alberta Golden Bears beat UBC Thunderbirds 38-18 to get their first win of the regular season. And Regina beating Manitoba 30-8 to finish, and Saskatchewan beating Calgary 20. That's your Can West update. That division is kind of wide open for anyone's taking. Saskatchewan and Regina have kind of cemented themselves as 1-2, but anything under that, Calgary, UBC, Manitoba, and Alberta are all kind of floundering there. On the other side of the coast, you have St. Mary's beating Acadia 30-8, and Bishop beating up on Mount Allison 54-3 in your AUS action. In RSCQ, you have Montreal rebounding after a loss last week to McGill 52-2 against Concordia. And Sherbrooke upsetting McGill 34-21 with Laval on the bye. And in the OUA action, Laurier continues to roll, beating Toronto Varsity Blues 59-21. Western rolling as well against McMaster 52-22. York gets demolished by Queens 57-5. What was kind of an upset heading into the week, Guelph beats Carleton 55-28. And Windsor shuts out Waterloo 35-0. So those are those week scores in the U Sports landscape. Season's halfway over. 6 games, 5 games. We're heading into week 7 in the OUA, heading into week 6 in ASU and RSCQ, and in Canada West. Kind of wild.
Yeah, no. It was like, it seems like just another week in Ken West. Like, the unexpected seems to happen every single week. It was like, of course, being a BC boy, I'm like, UBC coming off that huge 1-point win over Calgary on homecoming. They have Alberta 0-4. Like, on paper, this should be a game where you get to 3-2. Like, you kind of put yourself in the driver's seat for at least third, potentially like maybe even a home playoff game. And they just kind of fell flat on their face and gave Alberta like their first win of the season. But I mean, I guess the only good thing out of that is that Calgary and Manitoba didn't help their cause either because they both lost. So, like, Calgary, Manitoba, and UBC are all 2-3. UBC has beaten Calgary and Manitoba already both this year. They have Manitoba again this week in Winnipeg, and it's going to be a dogfight to the finish for those last 2 playoff spots now, especially with Alberta. Like, after picking up that first win, they're going to get a little bit of confidence, and we're just gonna have to see. Like, there's 2 spots for 4 teams. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, and out west, I mean, there's a lot more parity out west. Obviously, Saskatchewan and Regina they're both 4-1. They're kind of at the top. They're both the highest scoring teams in the conference. They're the 2 of the better defenses in the conference. They are kind of running that conference, but everything else from 3 to 6 is wide open for anyone's taking, especially heading into next week. I believe this weekend Alberta is in a situation where they can jump over, because they played Saskatchewan, Calgary plays Regina, and that's it for for Canada West games. Oh no, there you go. UBC at Manitoba.
Yeah.
So Regina's probably going to take the loss against Saskatchewan. I think that's unfortunately kind of a given.
Yeah.
Obviously, anything can happen. But if you're Alberta, you beat Saskatchewan. There's a good chance that Calgary loses to Regina, and then one of UBC or Manitoba will be, at 2-4 with you. You kind of set yourself up for a final interesting couple of weeks before to get into that final playoff spot, depending on how the rest of the season goes for them. But overall, though, I mean, Montreal Laval are top in the RSEQ. Montreal's 5-1, Laval's 3-1. St. Mary's Bishops are both 3-1, are both 4-1 in ASU, and Laurier 6-0. Western's 5-0. They're both kind of dominating the OUA right now. Queens is starting to get hot. Ottawa's hot. Windsor's starting to come around after a tough spot in the first couple of weeks of the season. So still a lot to play out. My thing is, like, York, after such a strong start to the season, like such a strong opening week, York has dropped the last 5. They went 5-0-5 in the last 5 weeks. York, again, they're 2-3, but haven't looked good in any of their losses. Kind of hoping to see a good year from both of them, which is unfortunate given how the schedule's played out. But I think this year you might actually have some upsets coming out of the RSCQ. I don't know if Montreal and Laval are should be considered as big of favorites as they are, considering I think this year they're playing Canada West in the Yates Bowl, I believe. But or not Yates Bowl.
No, I agree, Shane. Like it's pretty crazy because we already saw like McGill beat Montreal, and then unfortunately for them, they didn't follow it up because they got upset by Sherbrooke. But I think that just kind of proves how much parity there is in the RSEQ this year, that McGill can go and beat Montreal one week and then go and get beaten the next week. And it's I don't know if it's Montreal and Laval or Laurier and Western, like kind of everyone expects, maybe more so Laurier and Western in the OUA final, but I'm not convinced that it's going to be Montreal and Laval in the RSEQ final.
Yeah, and my mistake earlier. It's on the UTEC Bowl. It's not the. It wasn't the Yates Bowl. It's the UTEC Bowl and the Mitchell Bowl. So this year the UTEC Bowl is ASU versus RSEQ, and then it's for the Mitchell Bowl is Canada West versus OUA.
Yeah.
So
I would expect that Canada West and obviously the AUS, no disrespect to those out that way, but those will be heavy underdogs in those two matchups.
yeah, I don't see it going any way. I think this year's Grey Cup might be a rematch of last year between Laval and Laurier. But I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, Western has looked dominant. Laurier has shown signs of being able to be beaten. So, I mean, they had to goal line stand against Ottawa 2 weeks ago to come away with that win. So I think they can. If there's a team that I'm worried about, it's Laurier. If there's a team I'm not worried about, it's Western. But we'll see. I mean, a lot of football left to happen. Injuries can play a huge part of it, and all that fun stuff. So we'll jump from U Sports to Canadian Junior. Still, BCFC is decided, basically.
Yeah. Well, the playoff matchups are decided. The BCFC tweeted them out, but
yeah. So based off last week, West Shore Rebels beat up on your Langley Rams 62-0. The Vancouver Island Raiders, the VI Raiders, beat Valley Huskers 27-13 and officially eliminated Valley and clinched that fourth and final playoff spot where they're going to have to go to Okanagan and face off against the Sun. That's going to be one boring road trip for them. And then the Prince George Kodiaks beat up on the Kamloops Broncos 74-0 in last week of the BFC. But yes, they have playoffs have been clinched out there. This week is kind of meaningless. The Okanagan Sun will host the VI Raiders, and the West Shore Rebels will host the Prince George Cougars or Kodiaks in their playoff matchup. Still some stuff to be decided in the OFC. Cougars improved to 3-4 with a win over the Sooners, 52-6. Saints beat up on the London Beefeaters, 61-16. And then the Skyhawks beat up on the Grizzlies, 41-0, which has set up a win-and-you're-in situation this week for both the Cougars and the Skyhawks because they play each other this week. The St. Clair has clinched number 1, so they will host either the Cougars or the Skyhawks, whoever wins, because they're both 3-4 heading into this final game. And then London needs a win this week to clinch. They need a win over Ottawa to clinch second. If for however reason Ottawa can beat London, it sets up a Sunday game for the Hamilton Hurricanes against GTA to clinch second. So all that's remaining right now is who's going to have that second spot. Is it going to be London or Hamilton? They've both clinched. And then either the Quinte Skyhawks or the Sault Ste. Marie Cougars will finish fourth and have to travel to Windsor for probably a demolishing playoff game against the Saints. And then PFC, again, Regina beats Saskatoon by 3, clinching the first spot. Well, almost clinching. They basically need to lose this week or next week because they're on a bye this week. They need to clinch with a Hilltops. So they need a loss against, I believe, the Huskies in the final week of the season. Or no, they need against the Wildcats. So they need Regina needs to lose to the Wildcats, and the Hilltops need to beat the Colts to take number 1 in the PFC. Regina, all they need to do is win. But that 2 and 3 are wide open in the PFC. I think it's basically a 3-way tie or a 4-way tie for that spot.
Yeah, no, it was a crazy week. I actually got a chance to watch that Regina and Saskatoon game, and as per usual, like low scoring for most of the game. It was kind of both defenses, I believe both teams, I missed the first about 5 minutes. I believe both teams scored on their first possession. So by the time I turned it on, it was 7-7. And then it just kind of stayed that way until late in the second quarter when the game kind of changed. The Thunder kicked a field goal. So the Hilltops had the ball with about 30 seconds left. They tried to get into field goal range, and their quarterback threw a pick six. So the Thunder took a 17-7 lead into the half. It stayed that way throughout the third quarter, late into the fourth quarter, when the Hilltops would get a touchdown to make it 17-14. They got a stop, so they had a chance to take the lead. And then again, they threw a pick six, which gave the Thunder a 10-point lead. The Hilltops would get another touchdown with about a minute left, and they would get the ball back. They were actually driving in the final minute to potentially tie or take the lead when they got picked off again. So I believe their quarterback got picked off. It was either 3 or 4 times in that football game. The Thunder defense was just absolutely amazing. Really picked up that win for them. And as you said, Shane, it really comes down to for that 3 and 4 spot, the Colts, the Huskies, the Wildcats, and the Rifles, they're all kind of there. The Rifles just barely picked up a win over the Wildcats. I believe it was a 2-point win. And the Huskies and Colts, they're right there as well. So much like the OFC, it's kind of crazy that like the London Beefeaters are the second to St. Clair, and St. Clair beat them by 45 points. Like that just shows how good St. Clair is this year. Um, that Canadian Bowl semifinal between whoever comes out of the BCFC, whether it's Okanagan, West Shore. I also wouldn't count out Prince George. They played West Shore tough this year. I think that'll be a close semifinal matchup. But that potential, I guess we should say, there could be upsets, but that potential Canadian Bowl semifinal between St. Clair and the BCFC winner is going to be an extremely good game. And then the Canadian Bowl between the PFC champion, which more likely than not will either be Saskatoon or Regina, against the winner of that OFC BCFC game. The Canadian Bowl like semifinals and finals should be two really really good games this year.
Yeah, and we can talk about how the Canadian Bowl, how it's set up. I don't like it personally. I don't like how the fact that like
I get it.
the host conference is basically automatically like the winner of the host conference is basically guaranteed a spot in there. Um,
But in order for that not to happen anymore, you would almost have to include like I believe there's a Nova Scotia league or a Quebec league or
there's
something
the
like
Quebec
that.
League. It doesn't want to change its age because it goes up to 24.
Yeah. So,
My
but
thing is though is that the in my opinion it should be much like the Memorial Cup where all three play. You win
yeah,
your respective championships, and then you do your seeding, right? Um, or you give the host province uh, or the host conference that you know whoever is the top two, whoever's the champion hosts one game, whoever has the next best record hosts the other. So, for example, it'd probably be uh, or Regina versus St. Clair's and Saskatoon versus West Shore versus Okanagan, and then the winner of those two play for the Canadian Bowl. I think that's probably a better
yeah,
solution, in my opinion. I'm not huge on if you win your conference, if you're hosting, then you're automatically in the Canadian Bowl. But that's a conversation for a different day. But yeah, he was picked off 4 times.
yeah,
He's not had a good year. Bruxton Elias for Saskatoon. Uh, 4 games so far this year. 58.9% passing, 791 yards. Season high is 213. 5 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, and he got picked off 4 times through 2 against Edmonton. So not great. It is his first year by the looks of it in the PFC. Looks like he's 22, so he's 03. So
yeah.
not great. Definitely not great. It was a bad passing game for both
Yeah, it
Regina.
was. It was a. I don't
Adam
know if there
Washer.
was because I was listening to the play by play as well, but I was doing some other stuff while I was watching that game, and I don't know if it was like a windy game or anything like that, but they did not want to pass the ball that much in that game. But
Yeah. Well, Adam Mosher was 9 for 17 for 117 and 1 touchdown.
yeah,
So,
so
and yeah, Jake Mayo with 2 interceptions.
yeah,
So good for
but
him. And it doesn't give me who had the interception, like the pick six.
I believe
So
Mayo might have had one of the pick
yeah,
sixes, but
it just gives me the stats just show who had the interception. I can probably find out more for player stats. Yeah, it was Mayo.
Yeah.
with his INT. Just had to go into the different stats page. Um, but yeah, still so much up to work for the PFC heading into the final week after this bye. Uh, OFC again, I think it's St. Clair's to lose at this point. They built such a great program in Windsor. It's going to be, I think, and we're also probably going to see it happen with the Lancers in the next couple of years, where the Lancers start to get better.
Yeah.
Given St. Clair's success, you probably if you're the Windsor Lancers, if you're Windsor University, you're probably looking at it being like, hey, maybe we pair up in some capacity where like, 19, 20, 21 year olds can, that we're interested, go play with you, get those reps, and then at 21 or 22, they join U Sports. You get 4 to 3 years of eligibility out of them because you can play until you're 24. Uh, and you're not going to have everyone who goes from St. Clair to Windsor, obviously, but it would be a good pipeline for
Yeah.
the Lancers to exploit if they're smart.
No, for sure. I mean, we have that um, in a few different colleges and up here. Like I believe Prince George just recently actually kind of paired up with the college up there and stuff like that. So it's definitely something that's not untapped, and maybe the Lancers should look into.
Yeah, 100%. But for this week's games in the OFC, again, only a little bit of play to play for. Quinty Skyhawks head over to Sault Ste. Marie. Winner of that game does make the playoffs, so that should be a highly contested game. Uh, Sault Ste. Marie did beat them the first time around by 43 points, so we'll see actually how competitive this game is. Langley Rams play the VI Raiders in kind of a meaningless game. VI wins. There's no movement in the standings. London Beefeaters make their trip to Ottawa. Again, a win for them secures them at second, and will host the Hamilton Hurricanes. Okanagan Sun look to just finish the season healthy and perfect when they visit the Kamloops Broncos. And the Prince George Kodiaks head over to the Valley Huskers. Again, kind of a meaningless game for
Yeah.
everyone in the BCFC. Prince George can't improve their standings with a win. So, again, VI, Okanagan, and Prince George will probably just look to keep players healthy, probably give their second or third string guys some reps ahead of the playoffs. Last thing you want to do is lose, your star running back or your star quarterback, star lineman, linebacker, just in a meaningless game.
No, absolutely. So
And then Hamilton Hurricanes face off against the GTA Grizzlies in what could again turn into a meaningless game for Hamilton if London does beat Ottawa. So that one, Hamilton will want the win. They'll probably easily beat GTA. This is the same GTA club that gave up 93 to the St. Clair Saints in the first half of play before that game got shut down. And I believe that would be all for both those um, conferences until the playoffs. And I remember seeing something about the playoff schedule for BCFC.
yeah, it's the week. It's next week. It's both
Yeah,
semifinals are the 11th.
yeah. So it's Saturday, October 11th at 3 p.m. between Prince George and West Shore, and this is Pacific time. And then the VI Raiders going to Okanagan for 11 p.m. Eastern or Pacific time. So the Apple Bowl in Kelowna and at Starlight Stadium in Langford.
Yeah, which is both of those have actually been in CFL news over the last week.
Yeah, yeah. Both of them got announced. The Langford's hosting the preseason game, and then the Apple
Correct.
Bowl will be hosting 2 regular season BC games.
Yeah. So I mean, now the news is official. We can share it on air. Off the air, Cole had told us, and I know he's not here to kind of break the news himself, but he had told us that he had heard this rumor He wasn't sure how true it was, although the source was pretty reliable. Turns out, of course, the rumor was true. The Apple Bowl is going to undergo some extensive renovations because Cole was telling us off air that right now it only seats like 2,000, 2,500. But for these two regular season games, while the World Cup is going on next year, it's going to be expanded to 17,500. What's going to happen to those seats once the Lions leave? I don't know. That's kind of up to the city of Kelowna and the politicians of the Kelowna. But yeah, they're going to host. They're going to expand to 17,500, and they're going to host two regular season games. Probably the first two regular season games for the Lions because I believe the World Cup is like June 5th to July 5th or somewhere roughly around those dates next year. So, yeah, but those are where the Lions are going to hold their regular season games next year.
Yeah, and it's interesting that it's two regular season games compared to three regular season games for Toronto, which makes me believe that Toronto's expecting there to be a game or two added because they finish around the same time.
Yeah.
So I would expect that there is at least one or two more games added to Toronto's schedule, or at least they're anticipating one or two more games potentially added to Toronto's schedule.
Yeah, well, not that we of
To
course
that
have to
third
get
game.
into the not that we of course have to get into the politics or anything, but there has been rumors floating around that certain U.S. cities are quote unquote going to be banned from hosting World Cup games.
Yeah, and until again, obviously, until anyone officially comes out and says it, it's all rumors, it's all hearsay, it's all trust it, you know, take it with a grain of salt at any point. Uh, but yeah, that's good. Hey, there's Cole
What's
in his
happening,
dim
y'all?
dark light,
He's here.
hiding in the shadows.
What have I missed?
He's a
We were
ghost.
just talking about U Sports and CGFL,
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
so
So we just
figured
did
to
the
wait for
updates
you.
and we spoiled your news that you had told us last week about the Apple Bowl, but
Told you boys. I beat Farhan by 15 minutes on Twitter as well. So I'm putting that into the old bucket. But yeah, as I said, I thought I was pretty confident in my source that had mentioned it to me. But I am really looking forward to seeing how they I guess attempt to capitalize on going to the Apple Bowl. I actually will be up there for the Cullen Cup in a couple weeks. The BCFC is gonna or wants me up there for the Cullen Cup as I mentioned. So I'll
if
be up there.
Okanagan wins.
Yeah, I guess if yeah, we'll see what happens. But all likelihood I will be up in Kelowna in a few weeks, and as I have played there 2019, so it has been a few years. It'll be 6 years since I've been up there and at the Apple Bowl. Not much really has changed, and especially with the facilities is kind of what I brought up last week, I believe, off camera to you guys. And like, specifically like with us, the road teams, like we'd be kind of cramped into a very small dressing room. So I'm very curious to see how they. I know down in Victoria, Blake, we got a good look at like the portables that they kind of
Hmm.
made into locker rooms for the players. So I would imagine that'll be maybe they'll look kind of in that direction. But it will be interesting because it's definitely not a modern facility, and it's definitely not ready for a professional franchise to be play there. But it seems like the BC Lions are pretty excited to go up there. So we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah,
Who's
and I
paying
know
for it? Are the Lions paying for all the renovations? Is it something that they've worked with Kelowna on? I might have missed it when I was reading the original release. I don't know if it was actually announced, but I was just
I
curious on
don't believe it was. They just announced the capacity.
like
Yeah, so I don't know yet. I did ask my source of like, is this gonna be a like set up and then take it down type thing, or are you gonna like leave it for the Okanagan Sun and other teams to take advantage? Um, from what I understood from right now, it's kind of like that the Lions and Amar Doman are bucking up for a majority of what's going to be happening up there. But we'll see what happens afterwards. As we know, like the guy that Amar Doman is, Blake, he really does start to, or he's really starting to buy back into like the grassroots of football. So maybe he would like to leave something like that up in Kelowna to take advantage of maybe going back there every year, or maybe just to take advantage of the CGFL using it, whatever could possibly turn out of that, because it would definitely be a shame if they only put it up and then it was kind of taken down.
Yeah, no, I was curious about that as well because you had mentioned to us, again off camera, that it only seats like 2000, like 2500 right now. So it's
Yeah.
going to be a pretty extensive renovation, considering that the Lions put in their press release that it's going to hold 17,500 for those games.
Yeah, I believe as well. Farhan mentioned this to me. I think between 17 and 20K, like they were kind of optimistic for. Um, Having, as I mentioned, played there before, they really only have one grandstands that probably only holds maximum like 1,200 people, I would say. Like it's not very many. It's not very big of grandstands, and then they obviously have like a track around it with some other bleachers and like some beer garden seating and stuff. But yeah, it'll be interesting because there is, I guess, quite a bit of space. I guess I kind of underestimated or never really took it in when I was there. So we'll see. But as Blake and I are well aware of kind of the Touchdown Pacific, I really hope that they really buy into like the
Mhm.
drink lines, the concessions, all that stuff, because that definitely helps the experience. It helps things go much more smoother, because if you get up to go get a drink in, say, the third quarter and you come back and the game's over, it's not very much of a great experience. So let's hope in that avenue that hopefully that in they got kind of those their T's crossed and the I's dotted.
Yeah, for sure.
So so Cole, and I mean Blake too. What are your projections for the playoff games in the BCFC? Obviously, I think there's expectations that Okanagan is going to come in or is going to just roll over the Raiders in that game. But realist and like optimistically, do you think the Raiders have a chance of playing with and staying with them, or do you think it's going to be just a trip up, 3 games up there, and then a trip back down for VI?
Yeah, I
Blake,
mean,
do you
I
want to
know.
go?
Yeah,
Blake, do you
I'll,
want to go
I'll go
first? Yeah,
first because I
yeah.
know. I know Cole has to be diplomatic in what he says,
Well, I'll also give the long answer probably as well, probably too.
but yeah, no, like we're being realistic here. I think it's going to be a trip up for VI and then a trip back down when their season is done. However, in that second game, I truly believe the Prince George Kodiaks could surprise some people. Maybe you can speak to this a little bit more, Cole, but their quarterback is arguably the best quarterback in the BCFC. Sawyer Thiessen, right? Is their
Yeah.
quarterback? Yeah, so he's arguably the best quarterback in the BCFC. Um, I believe the first time they played VI was a close game, or played West Shore, pardon me, was a close game as well. So I don't know if they'll necessarily pull off the upset, but I think that second semifinal will be a lot closer than people might think.
Yeah. So I kind of like, because I do have to somewhat be diplomatic, but more so on like the inside the BCFC, where on this platform I feel like I can kind of get a little bit more takey, I guess, or like I can actually give my opinion a little bit more. Um, so like I guess I would start first of like, I don't necessarily think that it'll end up being a close game up in Okanagan. I think that I believe I mentioned to Blake though, of like, I don't know if it was Blake or somebody else, but of this already just being like a tremendous positive for the program already, because like 2 years ago they got beat by West Shore 97-0, and then like Monday morning they got head coach got axed. Sean took over as like an interim at 27, and the program was like the future is very uncertain. So them getting back into the playoffs in a 2-year stretch and kind of rebuilding is huge. And I think I mentioned this. I think actually it was on the broadcast last or 2 weeks ago when they were at home, of like just getting in, I think, is a huge step forward, regardless of the outcome up in Okanagan. And I think it will be quite lopsided, in my opinion. Even if the Raiders were to play at their best, I don't see like really much of an outcome of them being able to upset Okanagan. I just think they're too strong at too many positions, especially on both sides of the football. Um, but I think they could, kind of one of those things like they could keep it close for a half, and then it looks a lot different come the final score. The other one though, I do somewhat agree with Blake, but I do think the best opportunity for anybody else to come out of the BCFC is from West Shore, as Blake did say, and I do agree with him that Sawyer Thiessen is arguably, I would say, the second best quarterback in the BCFC. I would argue that Gavin Session is the best quarterback in the CGFL as a whole. And that's no slight at Sawyer Thiessen as well. I kind of raved on him at the broadcast when they were in Nanaimo like maybe a month ago. And he's like a guy that's like, and I hate that it's like a slight, but like big time game manager, doesn't do anything to risk the football. Is a U Sports product as well. Went to the University of Manitoba for 3 seasons, then came to PG. So like a veteran. But I don't necessarily know if they have like the game breakers on offense to like truly test West Shore. Whereas West Shore has arguably the two best receivers in the conference. Zion Brown obviously just tied the CGFL record for touchdowns in a season with 18. So, in my opinion, I think it's just going to be kind of 1 and 2 up in Okanagan for the Cullen Cup. But who knows? Because on any given Saturday, you never know what could happen, especially in BC with the weather and stuff like that. With a team like PG, I feel like that could also help them. We saw it 2 weeks ago when West Shore came up here, and it was a torrential downpour, and their their high flying offense kind of got neutralized. Right, they couldn't pass the ball. The running backs are a little bit banged up right now. So weather dependent, I'm going to take Okanagan and West Shore to meet up in the Cullen Cup. But who knows? I think that game will definitely be much closer, and that's actually why I got the opportunity to either decide to go up to Kelowna next week for the playoff game against VI or stay here and go down to Victoria. And I definitely chose to go to the better football game, in my opinion, in Victoria. But we'll see what happens. I think it's gonna be interesting.
Sorry, the CJFL website is just absolutely horrendous. Literally just sorting through like receiving area, like receivers. Uh, they have
Go to
one guy at
go to
39 touchdowns,
go to leaders, Shane.
and
If
he
you're
had
not in
37
leaders,
in one game. Huh?
hey Shane. If you're in
What?
stats, go to leaders. It might help it just a little bit or make it easier.
Yeah, it's. I'm on play. Like, I'm on player leaders,
Okay, I see.
because it says like Wes Wines at Hamilton had 37 touchdowns against GTA.
Huh.
That's a lot.
For a game that ended 50-0, I don't know how that's mathematically possible, but gotta do what you gotta do, I
Math ain't math.
guess. Um, yeah, but yeah, I mean, it seems pretty across the board that like you have probably your top 6, top 7 teams. Uh, maybe this year top 8. It feels like you have a solid top 8 in the CJFL. Obviously, you have Okanagan, West Shore, and Prince George in the BCFC. Um, you have Regina and Saskatoon in the PFC, and then in the OFC, it's St. Clair and then London and Hamilton are 2-3. I wish there was more cross conference play.
Yeah.
Like I would love to see, and I mean I know it's hard, like travel, like this is junior, they're not gonna travel all the way to BC for a game, like that's not realistic. But I still wish there was a way to have more cross conference play in season than just the semis and then the Canadian Bowl.
I mean, not even just like I get where you're coming from, Shane, but not even just during the regular season. Like if, as you said, these
Preseason.
players are juniors, so yeah, like it, like I'm sure a lot of them are in school and stuff like that. But have a preseason game in like August, like the second week of August, like
There
have
there used to there used to be preseason back in like pre-2015, and then as well, the Okanagan Sun this year played the Calgary Gators, I believe, of
The Colts.
the Alberta Football League,
Oh,
the like
Isn't that
men's league.
like senior league in
Yeah,
Alberta? Yeah.
the senior league, yes. Where they played like an exhibition versus them. They also played Kamloops, which I have no idea why, because it was like 1 million to nothing. But Okanagan is a team that still does play preseason or exhibition, whatever you want to call them, like tune-up
Pretty
games.
sure
But
the Calgary Cougars won the men's senior national championship. They beat GTA in Toronto a couple weeks ago.
yeah, so it's something that would definitely be, I think, beneficial for like any program that takes part in anything like that, of like cross conference games or just cross conference exhibition games, whatever you want to call them, or even just exhibition games in general, to be honest, because more games the better. But I definitely agree with you. Just to throw it in there, just in case you guys hadn't already, just to clarify though, but this year it is the winner of the OFC that will be coming out west to take on the winner of the BCFC, and then obviously the PFC gets basically a bye into the Canadian Bowl. So it'll basically most likely be St. Clair, Okanagan, or St. Clair coming to Okanagan to take on the Sun, and then who knows what'll happen in the PFC.
Yeah, it should be good. Should be a good end to the Canadian Bowl, and then obviously Vanier Cup. We're a couple weeks away from playoffs starting in U Sports. But let's hop right into some CF recap last week. 4 games on last week, only 3 games this week. We'll start in Montreal, Calgary versus the Alouettes. Montreal comes away at home with a 38-20 win. So a nice 18-point cushion. Davis Alexander improves to 9-0 in games he has started and finished. I want to make that perfectly clear. There's apparently people are up in arms about that, saying that, he's lost games he started where he's gotten hurt. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not how it works. It's not hockey. But yeah, thoughts on this game?
It's night and day with Montreal with Davis Alexander and anybody else in quarterback, man. They look like Montreal of old.
yeah, no, I would agree with that. Like they're clearly better with Davis Alexander as the quarterback. Calgary like showed flashes. Like the one play that's made the highlight reel is like the ball that got snapped like 10 yards over VA's head into the end zone. And then he like managed to pick it up and complete like a 20-yard pass or whatever it was. But that defense, like they're in a world of trouble right now. Like they give up 50 points plus to the Lions, 38 to the Alouettes. Like they need to do something about the defense, or that great start that they had where they were pushing Saskatchewan for first might have them like going to the crossover if they're not careful by the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, they've addressed it. Obviously, you guys, the trade deadline has passed. They passed at 12 p.m. Eastern today.
Didn't even notice.
There was really only one trade on the table this week, and that was Lorenzo Malden heading to the Calgary Stampeders for a 4th-round pick. With Florian out for the year, this should help with that pass rush for Calgary. For me personally, it's just Montreal's defense is suffocating. Obviously, Davis Alexander plays a huge role in it. I mean, he went 26 for 36 for 350 yards and 1 touchdown. Shea Patterson, 8 carries, 20 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think there needs this side. We can talk about it after, but I think there needs to be something done about the amount of quarterback sneaks that we see in this league. It is infuriating. Constantly, it's 3rd and 1.
Steal touchdowns,
sneak.
yeah.
3rd and 1, quarterback sneak. 3rd and 1, quarterback sneak. It is infuriating to watch.
There's a reason why Streveler's up there in touchdowns this year. Like
that's why Caleb Evans has the record for most touchdowns by a quarterback. He had
yeah, because he just snuck them all.
20 of them were from just sneaks alone.
But yeah,
Uh,
it's just Shane, what
but
were your thoughts on this game?
I don't know. I feel like Montreal was just a better, like they showed better promise. I mean, Davis Alexander, huge benefit. Tyler Snead had a great game. Tyson Philpott had a great game. But the defense, like Montreal's defense, is just suffocating. Adams went 18 for 29 for 238. Net offense given up was 378. So a little bit help on the rush defense, but overall Montreal seems to, if Alexander's healthy, could be getting hot at the right time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So moving into the Friday night game, Toronto Argonauts versus the BC Lions. BC wins 27-22. I wasn't able to watch the entirety of this game. But from what I did see, why does BC always seem to play down to his competition? Like Nathan Rourke, 16 for 24, 235 with a touchdown and 3 interceptions. Like,
That's the team this year, buddy.
like it's just you had such a high against Calgary, and then you got the win, so you're not going to probably complain too much, but you just laid an egg against Toronto by winning by 5. Like, I don't know. I feel like BC needs to. You want better from that offense against a team like Toronto, who is barely scraping by in the East.
I don't know how. I'll go first, Blake, because I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like we've maybe feel slightly a bit different. Where I feel like my expectations, Shane, are maybe a little bit tampered. So like obviously we all 4 of us picked them last week. Very ugly win last week with, as you mentioned, the 3 interceptions. Especially the first interception was the worst interception. I'd argue the other 2 weren't entirely Rourke's fault. The first one specifically was not a great one. And then as you mentioned, like playing down to inferior opponents, right? We're like, we already saw this story kind of play out all season, right? Winnipeg week 2, Chris Shover starting. Jake Mayer starting for, was it Saskatchewan?
Saskatchewan, yeah.
Toronto a few weeks ago. Ottawa at home, or was that on the road?
In Ottawa. Yeah, with Dustin
Ottawa,
Crum as the QB.
yeah,
Yeah.
Ottawa on the road. Where the kind of thing that I've said is like the whole 1 step forward, 2 steps back thing. I expect them to win this game, but obviously not in the how ugly it was. Um, so I'm honestly kind of curious. I was very curious to see how we're gonna pick tonight. I think looking ahead from last week, this is where I was possibly hoping Blake's feelings would get into the way here, and I would be able to possibly take advantage. But with Calgary not looking so great either, it kind of makes me hesitate now. And this is a big matchup for both teams, so I'm curious. This is kind of going to be like my real indicator of like BC being like with the like second best odds now to get in the Grey Cup. I haven't really bought into quite that much yet, especially with I know like their defense is a nice like little bit of stretch here, but I just I don't know. I'm kind of I have tampered my expectations of like I think a West final or excuse me a West semifinal this year is kind of like a win in my opinion. First year head coach. But then, like, you look at the road ahead, and it's like Calgary's opened the door wide open. Winnipeg has made it a little bit difficult winning last week, and that was unfortunate to take it to, especially the way they did over Hamilton. Like BC is right there to control their own destiny. I just don't feel like I can trust them enough to like, as we just saw, like playing down to anybody in the playoffs is going to get you out in the first round. So I feel like winning ugly is something that you can afford to do in the the regular season, but come the playoffs when teams are the best, I don't know if you can get away with it come then. So that's kind of my hesitation, but I'll let Blake go and kind of give his opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, obviously, I'm happy the Lions got the win. Not necessarily happy that, like, how the game went, especially how Nathan played. Um, I'll say that he did have 2 more rushing touchdowns. So if you include his rushing touchdowns, he was 3 touchdowns overall to his 3 interceptions. But I think that not that they're fixed and whatever, but I think this is a good sign for the defense where the offense clearly didn't have their best game. It's the first time in like 8 games or whatever it was that they weren't able to score more than 30 points. And the defense did enough. Like I said, they weren't perfect. They're not fixed by any stretch of the imagination, but they did enough where the Lions were able to get the win. Shout out to Jackson Finley for getting his first career interception. Matthew Betts has gone from like invisible through the first like 14 weeks, whatever it was, to like scorching hot and the best player in the CFL over the last 3 weeks, and it's not even close. His sack slash strip fumble of Nick Arbuckle along with Nathan Rourke just refusing to be stopped on 3rd and 1.
Yeah,
Um,
good
we're
good
able
good call,
to
Blake.
we're able to win the Lions that game. But yeah, it's just like it's an ugly win, but at this point in the season, especially with, as Cole said, Calgary opening the door, and yeah, it sucks that Winnipeg won because it's become kind of a 3-team race. But really, like, I know Calgary has played one less game, but second place in that home playoff game is really up for grabs right now. Like, this week will decide a lot, obviously, with Winnipeg winning. They've entered themselves into that conversation as well, but like one of these 3 teams will host a playoff game. And I would definitely say that BC and Winnipeg are a lot hotter right now than Calgary is.
Yeah,
I
I
will
would
say,
say too, Blake, to throw it just before you go, Shane. Like, I guess to like counteract my point of like the Lions previously, I guess, probably would have found a way to lost this game.
Yeah, exactly.
Close game, something would have happened late of like, we already seen the script play out. So I would give them that of being able to pull it out a win in that sense. But other than that, I think it's this is a big one on Saturday. I really am pretty bummed that the Raiders are playing on Saturday and I can't make it because this is massive for both teams. I feel like of who's able to come out victorious on Saturday and kind of really attack this, and especially because the Lions are on a bye after that, I think too. So, pretty critical game here to just kind of who's almost like for real in a sense, not to delegitimize Calgary's previous 16, 17 weeks or whatever it is, but we'll see what happens.
yeah, I will just add, like, as someone who, and I mean, if you listen to this show all season, I've been very down on Betts. 4 sacks in his first 12 games for someone who's being paid top dollar. You probably want someone better for the value that the production versus payment. Um, but his last 3 weeks, he's put up 7 sacks.
I
Or
think
no,
he's put up nine sacks.
nine sacks. My math was wrong there. Put up 9 sacks. He's up to 19 on 13 on the year. And again, at the end of the year, you're going to see 13. You're going to be, oh, he was productive all year. Hopefully for BC's sake, he can keep it up. But the last 3 weeks, Betts has shown why he is, or why he was the best defensive player in the league before going down to Detroit. Um, he also has 2 forced fumbles in the last 2 weeks. Like, this
I
is the
will.
Betts that we wanted to see from day one this season, and hopefully he continues it. I would love for him to see go on a tear the last 4 weeks or last 3 games,
Yeah,
and
because the Lions
and
have a
end the
bye now.
season, with 17, 18 sacks, which I think would be great for BC heading into the playoffs. Um, but yeah, I mean, hey, he's turned it on when the games are starting to matter, and I'll gladly give him his roses for that.
I think to add one more thing, Shane, before we get out of this game too, just talking about the bets thing. I think a lot of people within the building also are like very to like point to the team game of football are like really kind of pointing to like the additions of Levi Bell and why the heck is the other guy's name escaping me? Is it I forget the other edge rusher that we signed a few weeks ago, but the team has been pretty high on both of them and like obviously before we had been kind of like very vocal of like nothing from Sione Chama, nothing from Kameka Ture really in terms of like being a threat. So with these guys kind of being able to step up, it's been nice to see them pay off.
And you guys just signed your Hayden Harris just got signed too.
Yeah.
So that should be a nice addition to that defensive line heading into the playoffs.
I don't
Yeah,
know if he'll play any games.
Sounds like he's going to play on Saturday, but I know Farhan mentioned to kind of tamper expectations.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any expectations, but in terms of a rotational guy who should be an impact player, maybe not getting the sacks right away, but should be a force on that against the opposing offensive line. It should be a welcome addition. But yeah, going into Saturday, into Winnipeg, I don't think anyone expected this score. The Blue Bombers beat up on the Tiger Cats 40-3. Collaros looked like Collaros of old.
For 1 week.
He put up, hey, you can say for 1 week, he put up 367 yards on 20 out of 25 passing.
Death taxes and Shane hating on Trevor Harris and Cody Fajardo, but death taxes and Blake fucking just can't stand in the Bombers.
I think
can't give him any credit.
I'm going to defend myself here a little. My issue with Trevor Harris was watching him at quarterback for like 3 years and being infuriated with the fact that he would put up a bunch of yards and 0 points. And that's why I also have issues with Cody Fajardo. He has a tendency of just putting up a bunch of yards and 0 points. The fact that Chris Trevor had 3 rushing touchdowns and a total of 26 yards, those should be Brady Oliveira touchdowns. I'm just going to be very honest. Hate me all you want. Quarterback sneak, take away from Brady Oliveira. If I'm Oliveira, I'm pissed. I'm like, just give me the rock. Let me bring it in. Don't need to put Strebler in those situations. Nick Dembski with another really good game. 7 of 7 for 114 yards. Hamilton could do nothing offensively. Kenny Lawler only had 9 targets and 2 receptions.
Crazy.
Oof.
Like for 34 yards, his longest was 23. So not a great game offensively for Hamilton. Not a great game defensively for Hamilton. We all took the L on this one because we all had Hamilton winning. But yeah, not a great game for the Ticats in Winnipeg. I think they've dropped to like 2-6 or 2-7 against the West this year.
Yeah, like they're an anomaly. They're not
They're
not as good as their record, I would say.
They're 5-1 against the division. So they're 4-5 against the West this year. And that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Sorry, Blake.
Go ahead, Cole.
Just because Shane mentioned him, big shout out to Nick Dembski, man. Continues to just do it year after year. The guy is the model of consistency. In my opinion, it's crazy. I had to throw this in because it's crazy that the narrative last year was like, this guy's cooked, he's washed, he can't hold on to the ball, which I understand. He was fumbling last year, and that was a problem. But he basically, outside of those fumbles last year, was business as usual for Nick Dembski once again. I had him as my number 4 Canadian in my top 10 list coming into this season, and that was the most commented kind of hate that I got in that top 10 list, was just everybody being like, "Oh, Nick Dempsey's like, he's washed, he's not top 10, he's not even top 5." And I was like, man, Nick Dempsey does it year after year. He's literally the most consistent Canadian receiver in the CFL. Healthy, he's the most healthiest too of the Phil Potts, Emulus's, Schaefer Bakers, McInnes, whoever else you want to throw in there. Nick Dempsey does it year after year, and definitely one of my favorite players to watch in the CFL.
I think Shane might have frozen again, but
I
don't have a lot to say about this game. Like I didn't. Shane and I were talking off camera before you hopped on, Cole, that like this is the one game where like I was broadcasting, so I didn't listen on the radio. Like I didn't watch any of this game whatsoever. And I was shocked. Like I checked the score just before halftime, and I think at that point it was 27-3. and I had to do a double take because I thought it was 27-3 for Hamilton. It was not. It was obviously 27-3 for the Blue Bombers. They kind of coasted in the second half. Strevler picked up a couple more touchdowns, but like, I mean, give them their props. They got the win. They got it quite handily. Um, this sets up like a last. We already kind of talked about it, recapping the BC Toronto game, but like this sets up a fight to the finish for not only the West, like second, third, fourth, but that first place in the bye to the East final now, because we talked about it last week, Shane, that like the Tiger Cats only have a 1 game lead on the Alouettes now. And I would argue that the Alouettes schedule is more favorable than the Tiger Cats for the rest of the season.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree. I mean, Ticats play Toronto, Calgary, Ottawa to finish off the year. Um, Montreal has a bye this week. They play Ottawa, uh, Winnipeg to finish the year.
Yeah, so
So if Hamilton somehow loses this week, they go into the final 3 weeks needing to beat Calgary, and luckily they have Toronto and all. Like they have another bye. They only have two. They only have 2 games left. No, they have
3 games.
after this week. They'll only have 2 games after this week because they have 2 byes.
2 buys, jeez.
Hamilton does?
Or they just have one, but it's like week 20. They're on a bye. So they have this week where they play Toronto. So if you don't win this week, you have to at least win. You're going to have to assume Montreal beats up on Ottawa twice. So you probably are down a game heading into that final week where you play Ottawa and they play Winnipeg. So you need a win against Winnipeg or a win against Calgary or Toronto to keep first. Because Montreal going up against Toronto Ottawa back to back. That's probably 2 wins. They get to 10. You have to be at 11. You probably need 2 wins.
Yep, but should we quickly recap this last game? Because I wanna talk about it just a little bit. But
yeah, I mean, Saskatchewan goes to Edmonton. We all expected Saskatchewan to win. And Edmonton comes away with a 2-point win as they beat the Rough Riders 27-25. Again, another Trevor Harris here. The game 33 for 46, 351 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. They had 3 total offensive touchdowns. And I'm pretty sure, Brett Lawler, who will not be playing this week, went 2 for 4.
Yeah.
So there's that's the reason why they lost. But go ahead, Blake. Go on your rant.
No, it's not really a rant. It's just that like Edmonton tried their best to kind of elk this game away. Like I don't know. I was watching the fourth quarter and I listened to pretty much the entire game before I was able to get in front of a TV. I don't know how the Elks almost blew that game. Like to give up that kind of touchdown just before the 3-minute warning is kind of whatever. You kind of expect that. Like you're up, I believe it was 15 or something at that point. You're kind of in prevent defense, whatever, try and allow the other team to get like to use as much time as possible while potentially scoring. We've talked about it before. Prevent defense doesn't do anything.
Prevents you winning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it prevents winning. But like that last drive, I have no idea how Keyshawn Johnson got that wide open on that play, like the 60-yarder or whatever that basically set up what could have been the game tying touchdown. The Riders, like like you said, like Brett Lother goes 2 for 4. I know a lot of people in Rider Nation were upset with the officiating. You can kind of go back and forth on that. However you please, the officiating is the officiating. I will admit that there was probably twice where the Riders got screwed. Uh, they went for 2 early in the third quarter to potentially tie the game. That was stopped. Maybe the play shouldn't have been blown dead. And the one that really shouldn't have been blown dead at all was the Riders recovered a fumble that was returned for a touchdown, but the play was blown dead. And the only reason the Riders got the ball is because anyone that's watched CFL before has probably heard this term, but the immediate recovery, which is why the Riders got the ball. So they lost points on that. But the Elks, like, they did just enough. Yeah, they got help from Trevor Harris on that 2-point conversion. Like, I don't know what happened, if there was miscommunication, if he thought Johnson was supposed to be somewhere where he wasn't. Very clearly, that 2-point conversion was not close at all. But the Elks at 6-9, they kind of refuse to go away. Like, their playoff hopes are definitely on life support. But if you look at their schedule to finish the season, I know they're on bye this week, but they have everything in front of them. Like, to make the playoffs, they would obviously have to win out and finish 9-9. But in those 3 games, they play the Blue Bombers once, they play the Riders or the Lions once, and they play the Calgary Stampeders one more time. All 3 teams that they're chasing. So again, like, the Elks are on life support. They'd be in a lot better position if they had even one of those wins where they got walked off on back-to-back weeks. But they're still fighting. Like, they're not rolling over and playing dead.
Like, please pick the Elks over the next few weeks and give me a game.
I
I
didn't say
will
I was
say
picking
this is,
them.
again.
I said
Like,
I'm just kidding.
I,
You do
again,
make
this is
good points, though, Blake. But
another reason why like I have issues with Cody Fajardo. 18 for 23, 305 yards and no touchdowns.
yeah.
Like, sure, I mean, yes, they had 3 rushing touchdowns, so they were still scoring. But at the end of the day, like, unfortunately for quarterbacks, your production is the thing that matters most. And if you put up 305 yards and 0 touchdowns, there's a lot of empty yards. But again, three offensive touchdowns. They got enough to win. Sure, they got some help. I do agree that fumble recovery. This is why they tell you all the time: just let the play out, let it go out, and then review it afterwards. There shouldn't have been no whistle. I don't care if you think it's down. If it's down by contact or not, let him play out. And if it's down by contact, you review it. They'll challenge, like, do whatever. Would have been the difference maker. Also would have been a difference maker if you hit your 2 field goals.
Yep.
But
So we'll
but I
see
agree.
how Campbell Fair does this week, because he's gonna get a shot. So
Oh yeah. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens for Saskatchewan. They're 10-4. They have a decent schedule remaining. Obviously, they have Ottawa this week, Toronto next week, Winnipeg, and BC. So they have 4 games left.
yeah, they have no more buys.
So, you're obviously anything can happen on any given game day, but you're more than likely going to get a win against Ottawa and a win against Toronto, or you should. Which means whatever happens, that Winnipeg Edmonton game and that Calgary Hamilton game, like, Saskatchewan should lock up the West pretty shortly. They probably only need 2 more wins or, a combination, because I think Calgary only has 4 games left. So their max is 12. So if Calgary loses this week and Saskatchewan wins, you probably lock up.
I think that would clinch first place.
Because they have the tiebreaker against Calgary, don't they?
Oh no, Calgary is the tiebreaker, so I guess they would. Their magic number is 2, but
yeah. So very interesting time to be a Rough Riders fan, and then obviously good for Edmonton. I'm very interested what Edmonton does this offseason. Maybe
Yeah.
if you win, even if you go 7-10, what do you do with Trey Ford? Because you just signed him to a 3-year deal. Are you gonna are you gonna cut him before any bonuses are due? Are you gonna maybe make a trade? Is there a team willing to take him on? I think because obviously you're not going to replace Fajardo. If you end up, 7-10 or 7-11 or 8-10, you're not replacing Fajardo. So it's just interesting. And then obviously Saskatchewan's going to they'll have a home playoff game no matter what. But do you have anything to add to that, Cole?
No, I didn't get to really catch any of the games on Saturday, so no, I don't really
you
have much.
actually did end up going to Chilliwack, but
Yeah, I made the trek out to the whack is what we call it. So
yeah.
not a big fan of Chilliwack, but yeah, I was curious because as Blake said, he didn't catch the first game, or you didn't catch both games, Blake.
No, I caught most of the second game. Just the
Yeah,
first game I didn't see.
and you were getting updates. I was kind of following along from all the stuff that you guys were putting in the group chat. So obviously, as Blake knows, I don't know if Shane knows, but like I'm usually on the sideline, kind of trying to get like content and stuff like that. So I'm like on my phone, so I'm not really able to check like TSN or able to watch. But what I was getting was kind of like the couple pins from the group chat where you guys were putting in. And I think it was Blake put in something first, and I was like, oh man, like what am I missing out on here? So I threw on the highlights on the ferry home, but. Yeah, it's been like a bummer that I've kind of missed a lot of Saturdays the last little bit of last like 6 or 7 weeks, but it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So jump into picks.
Only 3 games this week.
Only 3 games this week. As of last week, we all went. All 3 of us went 2-2. We picked Montreal and BC. Hamilton and Saskatchewan let us down. And Coach went 1-3. He picked Calgary, BC, Hamilton, and Saskatchewan. So he is now back and forth. I am officially back up a game ahead of him. He is 33-33. I am 34-32. Cole is 38-28, and Blake is 40-26. So
TikTok,
with 4
Cole,
weeks left,
time's running out.
You're running out of time.
We got time. We got time.
So
Hey,
game 1, Saskatchewan versus Ottawa. I'm going Saskatchewan here. I mean, again, I think after last week, Ottawa has very slim playoff chances, like very, very slim. They basically need Montreal to lose out. They can't. They'd have to get second because it looks like a crossover is going to happen. At this point in time, that crossover is very much in play. For Ottawa to make the playoffs, they would need to win. They would even just to survive this week. They need to win. They need Hamilton to win, and they need Calgary to win. If you're an Ottawa fan, that's what you need this week alone to even have it. to even survive next week without being eliminated.
The funny part is, though, Shane, that technically, as you mentioned, and this would probably be a lot easier if Davis Alexander was like had a season-ending injury. Not that I'm wishing that. Just like if his groin had forced him to sit out for the season. But if the Red Blacks were to win out and the Alouettes lose out, the Red Blacks would get a home playoff game.
Yep.
Like they wouldn't just get into the playoffs; they would get a home playoff.
They would host. But think about it. Ottawa hosted a playoff game in 2017
at 8-9-1.
8-9, and they got thumped by the Rough Riders when they were 10-8.
Yeah. So
like that was the year BC ended 7-11, and they would have been third in the East.
Yeah, but I'm guessing you're picking Saskatchewan in this game.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I said that at the beginning. Yeah, I'm taking Saskatchewan.
I must have misheard you. I'm gonna go with Saskatchewan as well. Like I just don't. I know Saskatchewan's going in a bit of a slide. Like they've technically lost 2 games in a row. I know the bye was in between that, but Ottawa has shown us time and time again this year not to trust them. I mean, the last time we saw Ottawa on a football field, the opposing quarterback completed 3 passes for 50 yards and they lost the game by double digits. So that tells you all you need to know about Ottawa in 2025. I'm going with Saskatchewan.
I'll take the Riders too.
So it's a clean sweep because Coach also takes the Riders here. Do you have anything to add, Cole, before we move on to the
No, not too
third
much.
game
I think you
or
said
second
it all
game?
for Ottawa, and I just hope the Riders don't fuck it up pretty much. Just handle
Yeah, I mean,
business
hey,
because
we
I can't
talked about
afford.
that last week and they laid an egg.
I guess the only positive is that Blake also picked the Riders, so even if they do fuck it up, it's no harm, no foul.
um, hey, we all still have our swaps, right? We all have that
Swap,
one
yeah.
swap or like that one change. We can all do it.
We might need to use it in week 21 when like the games don't mean anything anymore.
Yeah. Hamilton, the 3 o'clock game. Hamilton goes to Toronto. It's the futures game where they're gonna have
Oh yeah.
Bills.
All
Bills
the
are
Buffalo
reserved.
Bills
So they're gonna have
people.
Jim Kelly and Doug Flutie at the game in Toronto.
Wait, when is this one? Saturday, or Friday?
Saturday.
Saturday at
Saturday at
3 p.m.
noon our time.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So you're gonna have it's the futures game with the Bills and Argos collab. I'm gonna go Hamilton. I don't see that offense putting up back-to-back dubs like that. They're not gonna put up back-to-back shitty performances um, against a team they need to beat. Right? We were talking about it earlier where they're still fighting for that East final spot. I think they go out and take a big win out of Toronto. Um, so I'm going Hamilton there, and Coach is also going Hamilton for this game.
Yeah, I mean these 2 teams have played. They're the only teams which I've never understood that. Not that we have to get into it right now, but they're the only 2 that don't rematch on the week after Labor Day every year. They played each other early in the season. Hamilton put up 50. That was the game the guy from BC won $1 million because Wooden and Grant returned
Yeah,
kicks that game. But Hamilton's gonna be pissed off about the taste that Labor Day left in their mouths. Like they went into that game, they probably should have won it. They had to scrap and claw just to take the lead in the final 30 seconds, and then to allow that big play in the second last play of the game and get walked off on the very last play in your home stadium. They're gonna be pissed off about that. And as you said, Shane, like they know that Montreal's breathing down their neck. They have a healthy Davis Alexander now. You're gonna want that home field advantage come November. I just don't see Hamilton letting this game slip away, especially with Toronto basically being eliminated as they've already played 15 games as well. They only have 3 games left.
yeah.
So
I'll make it a clean sweep, unfortunately, for exciting purposes. It's not too exciting for all of us to pick the same once again, but I can't really talk myself into picking Toronto, to be honest. The biggest thing I would is just because it's the Bills are going to be at the game, but other than
Well,
that,
it's
like,
only 2 Bills. It's only Jim
well,
Kelly.
it's the Bills. The Bills will have a presence at the game, is then
Yeah.
what I should say. Um,
it's not Josh Allen, Cole. Calm down.
I just can't.
Hey, maybe he will.
No. Yeah, I need to be careful with this and kind of calculate because I can't afford to go 3 games back. I need to make sure that I stay at 2 and pick a right opportunity to strike, which I think is going to be the next game because Blake hopefully is going to do what I hope he's going to do, or what I think he's going to do is what I should say.
We'll see. We'll see.
I will say this is probably not going to be a well-attended game for Toronto.
No. Especially with, did you see the start time for the Jays?
That's exactly it. Like the Jays
They
are
got,
starting at 1
like,
p.m.
I know
or
the
4 p.m.
I know the Argos, like, and respectfully, we can talk all we want about the CFL being a pro league. They're not. Like compared, and I will preface that by saying, or maybe contradict that by saying, obviously the CFL is a pro league. The players are professionals, but compared to the MLB, the NBA, the NHL, whatever else, it's not even a competition. Like the MLB does not give two you know what about the Toronto Argonauts.
Well,
Yeah.
no, but I mean, at the end of the day, they're like, you're not. Unfortunately for Toronto, and people can be upset about this as all they want. Toronto will never be a prime time spot
No,
in Major League Baseball. Doesn't matter who they're playing. They'll in the playoffs. They'll always be the early game if it's on the weekend. They're
it
never
shouldn't
going to
be
put.
considering they're playing either the Red Sox or the Yankees, but
Yeah, like they will always be the early game. In my opinion, I know the second game is out west, which makes things a little tougher. But in my opinion, if I was the CFL, I would be looking at flipping the game to be like a 1 p.m. start in BC and or a 4 p.m. 1 p.m. start in BC and then like a 7 p.m. start in Toronto.
yeah, but then you got to
Because
deal with not necessarily in Toronto, but in BC, then you got to deal with stadium availability and so
yeah, and
on.
I know they might have looked at it, but like you're gonna have like 60,000 people at Rogers Center. You might break 15,000 at BMO because
Yeah,
of the playoffs.
I'd be shocked if they get more than 5,000, but
I don't know. Hopefully, people who bought tickets are going to end up going because apparently they've sold over 15,000 tickets. You might get a lot of Americans. You might get a lot of Bills fans coming up, right?
yeah, you
Like
could.
I would hope to see at least 15, but uh, yeah, the game's not going to be well attended in my opinion, and it
Total
won't get a lot of viewers either.
total side note, but I just had to get it in quickly because I turned it on my TV. The Canadian Championship is tonight, like the final. And as I'm sure you know, Shane, it's the Whitecaps against Vancouver FC of the CPL.
Yeah.
And 12 minutes into the game, it's already 2-0 for the Whitecaps.
Aren't the Whitecaps like one of the best teams in MLS this year?
Yeah.
They got Mueller, and they just got better with Mueller. Like they were already a decent club without him, and they signed him out of Bayern Munich, and then
Yeah. And Vancouver FC is like one of the worst teams in the CPL and won on this like magical run to the Canadian Championship
yeah,
final. But, anyways, I just had to get
pretty
that
bad.
in there. But last game
But
of the
yeah,
week.
last game, Calgary versus BC in BC. I'm gonna go with BC on this one. I think there's massive gaps with the defense. Uh, it looks like Cole's probably going to pick Calgary, which is wild. Uh, I know Malden should help, but I still feel like BC again. They're fighting for their playoffs. I mean, so is Calgary, but I think for BC, it's a little bit more. There's more urgency in BC than there is in Calgary right now. Because not only are you playing like the top four teams are basically almost secured a spot in the playoffs. It's just a matter of if you're going to do the crossover.
Yeah.
And
Especially,
if I'm
I,
a team out east or a team out west, I'm probably wanting like going to take my chances doing the crossover at this point.
well, I
But
don't want to play Montreal, though. That's the one team that scares me. But
take your chances.
yeah, I believe, which of course we already picked, but I believe if Ottawa loses and Toronto loses, which both of those games will be over. I know the CFL hasn't tweeted it out because there's some like wacky scenarios, but I believe the Lions can clinch a playoff spot before this game even kicks off. I guess. Well,
Yeah,
actually, no. They can clinch a playoff spot over Toronto, but I guess they'd have to wait a week for Ottawa because so a
no.
Lions win and an
So if
Ottawa
Ottawa
loss.
loses, if
Yeah,
Ottawa and Toronto lose,
and the Lions
all
win,
four teams. Yeah, if the Lions win, the
then they
uh
would clinch a playoff spot.
no. So even if because Ottawa has 4 games left
Yeah, but
with 4 wins,
BC's
their
eight and
best record
seven.
is 8-10. So if they
Correct.
lose, it doesn't matter what happens; they're eliminated.
Oh, their best
They're,
record would be 7-11. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So an
So
Ottawa and Toronto loss would
If
clinch.
Toronto loses, they have 3 games left. So BC doesn't need to win. If Toronto and Ottawa lose, Calgary, Winnipeg, and BC
all clinch playoff spots.
Clinch. The only difference is, I think, is BC and Winnipeg need a win or an Edmonton loss. I think that's what will stop it from being like official.
Well, Edmonton doesn't play this week, but yeah, that's
No, but they only
probably
have 3 games left. So
yeah, but BC has the tiebreaker. Yeah, so I guess technically BC will have to wait till next week
they
because
need at least
BC,
an Edmonton loss next
yeah,
week.
BC is the tiebreaker with Edmonton, but Edmonton, there could be some weird scenario with like 3-way ties between Winnipeg, BC, and Edmonton.
Yeah, because Edmonton's best record is 9-9 right now.
And then even a win would only improve the Lions to 9-7. So
yeah, so their best record, their worst record would be 9-9.
Would be
what
9-9.
you would need is Winnipeg to beat Edmonton.
But they're on a bye this week, so
yeah. So next week, Winnipeg. So is Winnipeg. So next week you would need Winnipeg to beat Edmonton, and you guys can clinch a playoff spot on a bye week because BC's on a bye.
Yeah.
But you need to win this week to set that up.
Yeah. But anyways, I know Cole, by the way he's been talking, is going to go with the Stampeders. I know he wants me to do it, and I'm going to do it anyways. I'm going to go with the Lions. Like, I think they're slowly but surely starting to get hot at the right time. Like, we hear about that all the time. Like, get right at the hot time. Like last week was a perfect example for me. Nathan Rourke and the offense didn't play their best, but it was arguably their most complete game of the season because the defense stepped up and got them that win. It's going to be closer than a couple weeks ago in Calgary. They're not going to put up 50 points again, as much as I would love to see that. That's not going to happen. VA, like, I love VA. You guys know that from last year, like in the past, even the beginning of this year. I hope VA gets a proper video tribute. He deserves it. But like, I don't know. Like Malden, I don't think he's gonna make as big a difference as Calgary needs right now. So I think the Lions offense is gonna kind of get back on track, and they're gonna put themselves in a good position to potentially host a playoff game, because of course it's going to come down to, if they win this week, it'll pretty much come down to them in Winnipeg.
Cool, go right ahead. It's your floor to pick the Lions.
Spoiler, I'm taking the Lions too. I went and looked ahead to next week, and I think I have a better opportunity with a couple games.
I'm sure you do. You're gonna end up picking the same.
So lame.
No, if I'm being honest, Blake, off the top of your head, next week, Hamilton and Calgary, you probably don't know who you're rolling with, right?
Not yet. I want to see how this week's games go.
But that's probably a toss-up, right?
At the moment, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll wait for an opportunity like that, and then Edmonton and Winnipeg play next week, and I feel like
probably Winnipeg, but we'll see.
Exactly. So I'm gonna wait for.
I mean, if you're a BC fan, you're probably hoping for Winnipeg.
The better
opportunity. We'd be hoping for Edmonton technically first to get us a better chance of a home playoff game.
I would be hoping. I would be rooting for Edmonton for sure in that one, just
because the Lions finish with Edmonton themselves, so then they could go ahead and beat Edmonton, and if Edmonton beats Winnipeg, and hopefully by them, Sask has clinched first and has nothing to play for.
But Blake already kind of mentioned it. The difference for me is just ultimately going to be I can't go with Nathan Rourke over Vernon Adams after what I said 2 weeks ago. And I feel like in a big game like this, it ultimately could rear its ugly head if you're a Stampeders fan of, maybe BA tends to maybe, turn the ball over, try to fit into a tight window. So I'm going to go with the Lions and wait for my opportunity in future weeks to take a game over Blake. I will say I was going to go with Calgary to a point tonight, but ultimately being at BC, I feel like it's it'll I think play into that card of working against Vernon Adams, I guess, of him being a little bit too excited, I guess.
Yeah, so we'll see. So all 4 of us have the exact same picks this week.
Yep, it was gonna be a.
Are you gonna try and post them this week, Shane? Or?
Ern?
Are you gonna try and post them this week or?
I'm off tomorrow. I have a little bit of things to do. But yeah, work has really hit a wall for me, so I haven't been able to post as much as I would have liked the last 2 weeks. So
Oh, I'm just messing with you.
I have the graphic made up. I had it, and I was like, I need to post this, and then it
Just
was like
hit post.
bang bang bang. And I'm like, by the time I realized I needed to post it, it was already Friday, and it was like the game was just kicking off, and I'm like, God damn it. It's also why I haven't been able to post like any of the CJFL or U Sports stuff because I just haven't had time to like do it.
But yeah, no, it should be. I hate these weeks personally. Like, I get why like you got to fit them into like a 21-week schedule, but I hate the fact that 3 different teams are on the bye this week. But
Yeah, it's brutal.
This is one of the reasons why you need a 10th team, and I think.
Yeah, and then you still need buys, but you can do like we were talking about earlier with the CJFL. You can do like league wide buys at that point.
Instead of it being 3 teams, you'd only have 2 teams. The Toronto Hamilton would actually be able to play each other.
Yeah,
you would literally have a full weekend of back-to-backs of 2 teams if you had a team anywhere else in Canada where it could literally be Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto, Hamilton, Saskatchewan, Winnipeg, Calgary, Edmonton, BC versus whoever. Back-to-back weeks, create it like a true 2-week rivalry series.
Yeah, true enough.
You'd be able to do all those things. You wouldn't have to have. I mean, you'd also probably only do 20 weeks instead of 21.
Yeah.
But this is, say what you want. At least the field dimension changes. Great for expansion. It may not have been on their. It may not have been on their priority list when discussing these rule changes. But thinking the fact that like Halifax is already working on doing a stadium for the Wanderers.
I'm skeptical on that because I looked at the Wanderers' current stadium. Like, I don't think there's much room for expansion, but we'll see.
No, but they're planning on building a new one.
Yeah, maybe.
And that's what the people are saying. It's like, oh, if you're planning on building a new one, you probably up the capacity by like. So I think the Halifax mock-up is like 12,000.
Yeah.
Let me find it because
which like isn't great for CFL, but at the same time, we've done it for Touchdown Atlantics and stuff. Like, you can make it work. Like, what was the capacity at Touchdown Pacific, Cole? Like, it wasn't. I don't think it was 10,000, was it?
I think it was. Which one? Or the one in Royal Athletic Park?
Yeah.
I think they did get over 10,000. I want to say it was like 12.
Yeah, but then that's a perfect example where like you really only need it at 12, 13. If you're selling out every single game, which at that capacity you should, you would still be making money. But
yeah.
So they're currently building one, and they're basically like, because there's only a pop-up stadium at Wanderers ground into a more permanent.
It's 14K. Was that Touchdown Pacific?
yeah, so interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I guess we'll save this for off-air conversations. I have something to tell you guys after that, just involving this conversation.
Okay.
But hey, even American expansion. So yeah,
Shane, you're gonna get us canceled, bro.
No, screw that. So it isn't official, but it's closer to a permanent stadium because right now it's just a temporary one. Like there's no running water.
Yeah.
The porta potties are like bathrooms are porta potties. There's no concessions, but it's 85,000 seat arena is what's at the center of it. There's been multiple designs, but with the option of expanding over 10,000.
Move into that.
But if you can get it, if the city or province is willing to bump it up, maybe you get another ownership group in there to prop it up to maybe like 17, 18. I think people need to like realize like you don't necessarily need 20 to 25,000, right? You can, if you're okay to do it at like 17, 18,000 seat arena. try to prop it up to 20, but we'll see what happens with that. But it expands. Expansion's huge. I think that if it means more money in the owner's pocket, I think expansion is going to be on the table sooner rather than later. In my opinion, I think within the next 5 years, you're going to see expansion talks.
Yeah.
Maybe nothing official, but I do think you'll see expansion talks coming in the next 5 seasons. So
We need it.
we do. Needing it since the 80s.
Yeah.
It would give us more content, so that'd be good.
100%. But, maybe bring in the Shooters for once or go back down south, go to St. Louis. Go to St. Louis and San Diego. Go to cities that got go to St. Louis, San Diego, and Oakland. Go to 3 cities that got spurred by the NFL.
Not Oakland, but I'd be okay with San Diego and St. Louis.
Yeah, I mean Oakland.
Everybody's leaving Oakland at this point.
Yeah, I mean the council's problematic.
But anyways.
But yeah, go to places like you did in the 90s. Like that's why you went to Baltimore, was because they got spurred by the NFL. Do the exact same thing. But that'll be all for this week, guys. I think that's we touched on everything. We touched on the Malden trade to Calgary for a 4th round pick. CJFL season's wrapping up. U Sports season is kind of in the mix of things. CFL season's only 4 weeks left.
Where the heck did the seasons go?
I know, it's crazy.
We thought it was like May, like three weeks ago, and now it's we're
honestly,
we're just over 80 days until Christmas.
We'll be doing our 3rd annual mock draft here pretty soon again, boys.
Yeah, I've already started working on some preseason stuff or like some off-season stuff with the free agents, and
we'll see.
Crazy.
Still a lot to be determined though for the end of this season. So
yeah,
it is. Okay. But for teams like Ottawa and Toronto, who are one loss away from starting their off-season process and starting to see who's here and whatnot, it's close. We're gonna have my CBA, making sure I have every an understanding of all the contracts. So, but that's all for this week, folks. Next week it should be all 4 of us. Hopefully, Coach can join us. Good luck this week at your game. Hopefully you win. It's tough to hear that you lost by 2, but monkey see, monkey.
Yeah, well, what's tougher than losing by 2? Losing by 1. So,
hey, we don't have to worry about that in like a year's time with the Rouge is done.
We play American rules, and I still lost by 1. So
that sucks. But at least it wasn't a walk-off.
Close enough.
Was it a missed field? Was it a 2-point conversion that they did?
No, it was a touchdown with like 20 seconds left, and we missed our convert with like 2 minutes left, and they hit theirs. But
that sucks. But hey, next season, no more Rouges, or at least very limited Rouges. So no more walk-off field goals that go through the end zone. So excited about that. But yeah, guys, thanks y'all for joining us. We'll be back here next week with a brand new episode of the CFL Weekly Show. It's myself, Shane, Blake, and Cole, and you can also follow Coach Phil on socials. Hit that like, subscribe, comment, share buttons. Make sure you put notifications on so you don't miss anything regarding this show. We appreciate all the support. Have a good one. Enjoy this weekend's football, and we'll catch you back here next Wednesday.